Welcome back. Donald Trump is escalating his conspiracy theory about an FBI spy being planted in his campaign, effectively changing the headlines from the Russia investigation to the investigators themselves. Now, he began the day by firing off tweets slamming the FBI's use of a confidential informant as it looked into his associates' ties with Russia. On his orders, tomorrow the Justice Department will share classified information on the informant with Republican lawmakers. Mr. Trump said it could be one of the biggest political scandals ever.
All you have to do is look at the basics and you'll see it looks like a very serious event, but we'll find out. When they look at the documents, I think people are going to see a lot of bad things happen. I hope it's not so, because if it is, there's never been anything like it in the history of our country. I mean, if you look at Clapper, he sort of admitted that they had spies in the campaign yesterday, inadvertently. But I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is.
Well, let's go live to Washington now. We're joined by White House reporter Stephen Collison. Stephen, good to have you with us. He continues to push this narrative of Spygate, saying that it could be one of the biggest scandals in political history. And he's organised this meeting tomorrow with the Justice Department, but he is excluding the Democrats. They're essentially being left in the dark, despite the fact that he's calling for transparency.
That's right. There won't be any Democrats in that meeting. Democratic leaders are basically demanding a meeting with the President and the Justice Department and the top two leaders of each side in Congress to try and sort this out. But Democrats will tell you that this is a pattern. They believe there has been collusion between Republicans on Capitol Hill, whose job as lawmakers nominally is to hold the presidency, another branch of U.S. government, to account, and the White House, all through this investigation into whether there was cooperation between people in Donald Trump's campaign and Russia, that is designed to completely fog and discredit the special counsel investigation of Robert Mueller. So they say this is not anything new. I think what it does is show us just how partisan and how poisonous this whole issue has become, and it makes it less likely that people who support the president are going to be convinced by whatever Mueller comes out with at the end of his investigation.
Stephen, the FBI's use of informants is, of course, not unusual. And the fired FBI Director James Comey has underscored that point today on Twitter, saying that the practice is tightly regulated and, quote, essential to protecting the country. And he went on to deliver a powerful warning to Americans, calling this a dangerous time when our country is led by those who will lie about anything and backed by those who will believe anything based on information from media sources that will say anything. Americans must break out of that bubble and seek the truth. He went on, of course, to say, what are Republicans going to say to their grandchildren? Of course, Donald Trump, very quick to try to discredit James Comey.
Right, and this is what's so interesting about this. What we're seeing is the president picking up a conspiracy theory from conservative media and using it to attack his own Justice Department. He's saying that there is a criminal deep state that is operating essentially to oust him from power, and that this is a holdover from the Obama administration, and certain people of what he calls this deep state are still in senior positions in the intelligence agencies and the Justice Department. You know, the barrier for outrage and surprise in the Trump administration has become pretty low, but this is a president of the United States that is doing this, that's undermining the judicial and political institutions of his own country on something that we know is not the case. And that's why people like Comey, other former senior intelligence officials, Michael Hayden, for example, James Clapper, are also sort of standing up and warning about what is taking place. But it gets back to that point I was making about polarization. The president has spent over a year since he fired James Comey trying to discredit him and the evidence that he's already given to special counsel Robert Mueller. So it seems unlikely that anything that Comey said in this sort of torrent of bitter partisanship is really going to convince anybody that believes Donald Trump, you know, that he has a good point to make.
And of course, meanwhile, this Russian probe continues, and we've heard that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and his team have now approached the courts and said we can move forward with sentencing former White House aide George Papadopoulos. How serious is that, and how much jail time could he potentially face?
Well, Papadopoulos was a former foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign right at the beginning in 2015 and 2016. And he was drawn into the whole Russia investigation after he was talking about this to an Australian, about Russian attempts to influence the investigation, the campaign, with an Australian diplomat in London. So what he did is he reached a plea deal to cooperate with the special counsel. The fact that now the special counsel is ready for him to be sentenced suggests that his cooperation and what he's told the investigation is at an end. That might suggest that Mueller is getting towards closer to the end of his investigation than the beginning. It's difficult to really read too much into that. And the fact that he did cooperate probably means that he will not be getting the maximum sentence that he could expect for lying to the FBI, but it's still possible that he could get some jail time.
All right, Stephen Collison for us in Washington. Good to have you with us. Thanks so much.